Thank you so much, Maurice, and thank you, colleagues, for having me here today. As I've been introduced, I'm Dr. Jane Muita, the representative of UNICEF in Bulgaria. And I really am happy that I am attending this conference for the third time. And I really want to appreciate all of you who are my friends, I must say, colleagues and parents. So it is really important for us as UNICEF to be meeting today, not only to celebrate and to work together and to bring minds together to think about how we can improve the future of children. It happens today to be the World's Children's Day. So for us as UNICEF, it is a time to celebrate where we have come in terms of fulfilling what is expressed in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. So I would like to wish you all a happy World Children's Day. But on behalf of UNICEF, I would also like to say that our partnership with the Ministry of Education, the Assist Foundation, and all the other colleagues, and today with the new Bulgarian University, is really a really good partnership, because some of the things that we have learned together and some of the innovations that we are trying to implement in the Bulgarian space are so important for children with disabilities. You must agree with me that communication is one of those most important competencies that helps one to develop to their full potential. Unfortunately, according to data, which is not quite comprehensive, and we know that in the world, sometimes children who are hidden from the vision of everybody else are not heard. We know that about 95 million children in the world have a form of disability or another. And we know that when these children or even adults have a disability, they tend to be the ones who are most hidden from society. They are most poor. They are most inaccessible to most of the services. But we know that in the world and in some parts of the world, some technologies exist, some tools exist, some competent people exist that can help these children achieve their full potential, and they are being used elsewhere. We as UNICEF in Bulgaria, the reason we are part of this partnership is that we recognize that it's important to bring all that information. It is important to build the competencies locally and anywhere else in the world for children to access communication and be able to participate. We know that policies have been developed, and Bulgaria has a very good policy on inclusive education. But we know that just making sure that children are in the classroom doesn't mean that they are included. In fact, if we don't make it possible for them to communicate with the teacher, to communicate with the other children, to communicate with others that need to train them, then they become even more excluded. So inclusion becomes an exclusion. So what we are trying to do by bringing AACs and AT is to ensure that these children can get the capacity to participate and be included. But it is not enough to have the technologies if we don't have the capacities to use them, if nobody is aware that they exist, if the people who need to use them don't know where to find them. So such conferences also help us to bring this knowledge to the users of service, to those who have to use them, and gives us a chance to look at what is applicable to our context. We know that, unfortunately, in the case of Bulgaria, only about 10% of special education teachers use low AACs, and less than 3% use speech generating devices. And actually, ATs are less than 5% being used in this context. So how do we get to the point where we can say there is 100% use? When we look at high-tech ATs, We know that 70% of the teachers have no knowledge, and only 10% of them would use it. But they exist in this world. And today I've just come from a conference on artificial intelligence. That's the future that we are moving to, or the future that is already here. So we in UNICEF Bulgaria, the reason why we want to keep engaged and we want to continue with the partnership with Assist Foundation, I saw that Maurice said that it is only up to 2020, but we'll be looking at having a partnership that goes beyond that. And in fact, we want to make the partnership not just with Bulgaria, but tomorrow there will be our regional office participating also in this conference, because we want to be a global partner. We want to be talking to you anywhere else in the world and look at what else can we do together, because the world is now completely connected. So in UNICEF, we are saying that we want to make sure that there is active participation in the classroom. There's active participation in the household, where parents are able to also use some of these devices to help their children communicate better. In the workspace, in the space that we are in today. So how can we get there ourselves? How can UNICEF help? What we have been doing at the moment, and we hope that we will continue to do in Bulgaria and elsewhere, is to support the ministries of education and our partners to have comprehensive assessment tools that allow us to check on their abilities, because we know even children with disabilities have abilities that we must exploit. So how do we assess that? The other thing that we want to be able to make sure that happens and happens well, and we have even included it in our participation in the EU Child Guarantee third phase, which we will be implementing in Bulgaria, is to look at how to identify the children much earlier, looking at early intervention and how that can be done. Because if these tools are used much earlier, the development of speech or even the development of communication will happen earlier, and it will be better taken up even when we end up in inclusive education. We will be working continuously on modeling, because if we are saying that there are tools that are available, but we want the policy to be implemented, we need to work with you as partners and the Ministry of Education in order to test how that happens. And UNICEF will continue supporting that. Like I said earlier, awareness is a big problem. Where are the tools? How are they available? How can they be found? So we'll continue with the awareness, demystifying their use, working with the partners again to make sure that they are well known in our space and elsewhere, so that they can be used much better. We want to continue establishing more partnerships that expose children and adults who have special abilities to be able to use them to the full, so that we can achieve full potentials as expressed in the Convention of the Rights of the Child, which I mentioned as I started my speech. But colleagues, during this meeting, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you promising practices, both from Bulgaria and elsewhere, that we can use to scale, so that we can develop the potentials of children to the full and even beyond, because now we have capacities to do that with the technology that exists in the world. So I wish you a really good conference. I wish you participation. I wish you strength. I know it's cold and we are all worried about the coronavirus. That is why we are on this space, which is digital, but it is a good space and it makes us reach people who are very far. So as I open the conference, I am looking forward to the final recommendations. They'll be interesting, and I'm sure they will contribute to what we are planning in terms of achieving World Children's Day today, giving children a voice, not keeping them muted. Thank you very much. Have a good day.